Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rene. If you're new here, welcome. I'm a working homeschool mama of two boys, and in today's video, I'm going to share kind of how I fill my kids' day. I am a full-time working parent. We are a dual income household, so my husband and I both work full-time to help bring income for our family. So just to kind of give you an idea, I have a boss, I work 40 hours a week. I've got live meetings and things I have to be at certain times. I have deadlines, all of that good stuff. So I am required to work quite a bit during the school day, which is a little bit different than what you might see in a typical, stay-at-home homeschool family. So because of that, we do have to have some systems and routines in place to keep our family running smoothly. I notice a huge change in both like my work productivity, my kids' behaviors and everything when we don't have a good routine and schedule going. So I have definitely learned that this is something that is a must for us. But I also had a hard time finding resources for it when I was first starting out. So today I want to share some different activities and ideas that your kids could do during the school day, whether you're working, cleaning the house, or doing something else. These are just some ideas of things that could help fill your homeschool students' day beyond just homeschooling. So just to give you guys kind of an idea of like the ages I'm working with here, as I said, I do have two boys. They are both pretty young. My eldest is in first grade this year, and my youngest is 2.5. So I'm currently only homeschooling the oldest because my youngest is not quite in pre-K or kinder age. So just to kind of give you guys an idea of kind of what we're working with here. So I basically split my kids' day up into different activities to kind of give them an idea of what's going to be happening next. And we try to follow pretty much the same each day. There are, of course, times where last minute things come up and I have to shuffle around. But for the most part, we try to follow the same kind of schedule. Now, I'm not going to give you guys like an hour by hour exact, like this is exactly what we're doing each minute of the day, simply because it's going to be different for you, right? You are going to have different kids, different ages, different work situations. What you need to happen at 10 a.m. might be different than what I need to happen at 10 a.m. So I'm basically just going to share some ideas of what your kids could be doing. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And if you see me looking down, I have just written down my list here of all the different things my kids do during the day and during the week, just so I don't forget anything. So one thing that we implemented starting last year was a morning and evening checklist for my kids. So this is something that my kids do right away when they get up. So I mentioned I have to be available between working hours, and the mornings are especially busy for me. So when my kids are first getting up, I'm already working, and a lot of times I have things I have to get done right then and there. So my kids know that they have this morning checklist to do. And my husband definitely helps with this, and he does get my 2-year-old up and gets him dressed and all of that. I try to have breakfast ready for my kids before I start my work, so I kind of help out with that. So it's definitely a tag team situation in the morning. But for my eldest child especially, he has a morning checklist that he'll go and do on his own. And if you're wondering kind of like what would be on this checklist, it's things like getting dressed, any kind of morning chores, which for a first grader for us is not too much. It's like feeding the dog and cleaning out the dishwasher is like the only chores he has. So he will do that, and then he'll have breakfast, and then he'll be ready for the day, has his chores done, all of that, right off the bat. And last year we didn't homeschool until later in the day, so he would go into like free play or whatever, but this year my schedule's changed a bit, so we're actually going to be homeschooling first thing. So he'll go right into homeschool time after that. And we only spend about an hour homeschooling for first grade. Last year in kindergarten, we only spent about 45 minutes. So we're not spending a huge chunk of our day homeschooling because at least for us with just one child, it just doesn't take that long. I mean, you've got a 20-minute math lesson, a 20-minute reading lesson, some, a little bit of handwriting, science and history on different days. I mean, it's just not a whole lot. So that's just how we're doing it. If you want to know more specifically what we do in our homeschool time, I made a video, I believe it was last week, about kind of how we fit all of our homeschool schedules in throughout the week. And I did share like a day-by-day schedule for exactly like how we fit in our homeschool subjects. So if you're interested more about like what the homeschool time looks like, you can go check out that video. But for now, we have our checklist, we have our homeschool time, and then the rest of the day is where my kids are filling in with those activities that I'm about to share. So the first activity is kind of an obvious one, but my kids always have time throughout the day that's slotted for free time or free play. I think especially when you have younger kids, there's just nothing more important than them having uninterrupted, unstructured playtime. And this can look a lot of different ways. You can give them like a specific area to play in, like this is your playroom playtime, this is your room playtime, or your living room playtime, or whatever. Or you can just let it be a free-for-all, free play, which is typically what I do. I'm just like, you can play with anything in the house. Like, it's your time to play. And I try to give them a long period of unstructured play, so an hour to 90 minutes at least, so that they can really get deep into that play. And I just feel like it's so good for their brains and their creativity and all of that. So there's always a little bit of, or a big chunk of time that's dedicated to play, and I'll usually have time both in the morning and in the afternoon for that. Another thing we have in our house is what we call table time. And depending on what your kid is into, you might adjust this for them. For us, table time is puzzles, or like art, or like independent, individual, like logic puzzle board game type things. So we actually have a cabinet, we call it like our enrichment cabinet, and it's got all of our table time activities in there. And we have a little like card table set up by it. So like when we do table time, my son knows he's got to be seated at the table doing some sort of activity that's in that cabinet. And I found that this has been really great for him, because I don't know about your kids, but I have a kid that doesn't really tend to gravitate towards those kinds of activities. Like if I just gave him free time, he's going to choose to play Hot Wheels or Legos. He's never going to choose to go like color or put together a puzzle. But if I give him specific time for that, then he will, and he'll actually really enjoy it. In fact, he's extremely good at puzzles because of this. So I really enjoy giving my kids some structured activity like that, and it helps break up their day. So it's not just like free play all day with nothing else going on. Especially on those days where I do have really busy and I have a lot of meetings and things, it's giving them something to do that I know is enriching and good for them and all of that. So that is what table time is in our house. And you could split that up too, like you could have puzzle time, art time, board game time if you wanted, or you could put it all in one with table time. It's up to you. And depending on how much time you're needing to fill in your day, you could split this stuff up too. Like you could do Mondays and Wednesdays are puzzle time, and Tuesdays and Thursdays are art time or whatever, you split it up how you need to. Another time we always have in our house is quiet time. I highly recommend quiet time. When your kids outgrow nap, you can transfer their nap into what is called quiet time, which is when they have just time alone in their room or in another dedicated space to just be by themselves. I think it's so important for everybody to have downtime to just be with themselves. They can read, they can play with some quiet toys, they can nap if they're still napping, whatever it is. We observe quiet time in our house, and it is a sanity saver as well as a lifesaver if you're working. I have, again, times where I have to be in live meetings and on camera, and I can't have kids in my background. So having them be at quiet time during those times where I know I'm gonna have them is very, very helpful. Another activity that we do throughout our day is sensory bins. So sensory bins are super fun, and it's not just for toddlers either. Elementary students enjoy sensory bins too. Honestly, I enjoy sensory bins as an adult. So I actually just pre-made 4 different sensory bins for my kids. I think I have a water one, a sand one, I think I have one with dried oatmeal and one with like rainbow rice, and then I have just different toys and activities and like tools in there for them to do, and we just rotate through them. So my kids have a dedicated like sensory bin time throughout the day. And sometimes I'll play like music or an audiobook like while they're doing sensory bin, just to kind of have an added thing there. Another thing is outside time. Now, obviously you can't always bank on this because sometimes the weather might be, dangerous with lightning or, tornado warnings or whatever. So they can't be outside. But if you live in an area with good weather, or, it's a good weather season, then you could maybe plan on having some outside time, sprinkled throughout your day. We are a super outdoorsy family. We love hiking and camping and being outside. And I really like my kids to have some time just to go play in their backyard. So we don't have a huge backyard, but it's big enough that, we have some playthings back there and our kids can play in there. So if you have an area like that, that's a great time to send them out there. What's great is like where I work, my desk faces the backyard, and our backyard's like fully fenced and everything. So I can watch my kids like while I'm working, which is very, very helpful. So outside time is another great thing you can add in. Another thing, of course, it would be having some screen time. So every family has different opinions on this. We do limit screens in our family quite a bit, especially compared to what I feel like a lot of people do these days. But our kids do have some like Amazon Fire tablets, and we do have TV. And so we will, at different parts of the day, I'll have my kids usually get about an hour of screen time a day. So the way that's broken up is they get 30 minutes of like educational tablet time and 30 minutes of a TV show. So for us, we usually have the 30 minutes of tablet time sometime during the day, like either in the morning or early afternoon. And then usually my kids will watch that 30 minutes of TV while I make dinner, because it just helps. So that's kind of how we split it up, but of course you can split it up to how it works best for your family. And obviously if you have a computer, we don't currently have computers for our kids, we're just not there yet, but if you did have a computer, maybe some educational games or something you want to put on there, you could also have a computer time as well. Depending on the age of your kid, you might want to, add or lessen that screen time, as you see fit. Another idea that's really great, especially for a working parent, is to have a bin of like special toys that they only get like at certain times. Like I have some basically like emergency toys that I keep in our hall closet. For example, I got like a big bin of like those old like Tinker toys, which is something my kids didn't have, and I just keep it in the closet. It's something new and special and fun, and I can just pull it out. If I have like something emergency happening at work or whatever, and I just need them to be occupied, I'll be like, hey, look, this special toy that you'll never get to have. Here you go. So that can be helpful too, to have just a special bin of toys. And that's really all I have, guys. The only other thing that really fills our day is when we leave the house. And that can look differently. Again, depending on how flexible your work is, you may or may not be able to do this. But participating either like in a co-op or other homeschool events, or even just taking your kids out yourself to the library or museum or whatever, or having them go hang out at a neighbor's house or another homeschool friend's house, or if you do have family nearby or something like that, that would be another option of something you could do to fill your day. So that's kind of how we fill our day. It's just my kids basically have like those different stations that they rotate between. I try to fill their day with things I know are good for them, like free play and outside time and all of that good stuff. But I also try to be realistic with what my kids can handle and what my work schedule needs, because my family can't make it on one income, so me working is non-negotiable. So it's something that we have to make work. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope it gave you some ideas. If you have something that you use in your family to keep your kids occupied during the day that I did not mention, please leave it in the comments below. It's great for this video to be a resource for other homeschool families. And honestly, I would love more ideas too. I'm always out there looking for more ideas. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.